So our next set of 3, we're also going to include actually a 4th stretch right after. This is both a wonderful warm-up, and I also have used this quite often as kind of a recovery day, slight mobility, but also you're still getting a bunch of cardio, you're still getting a bunch of muscle activation. And to be honest, I find these movements quite fun. Personally, I feel like I'm playing in the jungle gym. So this is something that I would like to, stress. You can bring that spirit to a lot of these exercises. If they're not fun, find things that are fun for you where you're playing around. So this is a hurdle. Before we get into the exercise, you might not have hurdles in your local gym. One thing that I found really effective is to take a plyo box or a bench at a particular height and just park a med ball right on top of that box. If you can find a wooden dowel, which people often have to stretch out or something like that, or you can stretch a resistance band between something. This is a really wonderful tool, kind of a fundamental human movement tool that really should be in every gym, but isn't, but there are other ways to recreate it. Maybe I could attach a picture of that as well, but I think it's pretty simple. Just have a box, spread out some bands or a dowel, like a wooden stick, and it works out well. So this one is a hurdle over under. It's very simple. You can do 5 each way, 5 the other way. And all it's going to be is I'm going to have you stand right here, and I'm going to be on the other side. And it's just it's a lateral hurdle walkover. So we can just start by walking over before we do anything else. Good. And then from there, drop under, squat, and get under the hurdle. There you go. And then again, keep going on the same line. Good, 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 good. Yeah. Very nice. Keep going. Yeah, up nice and tall. And then dropping under it. Notice the range of motion that he's getting in his hips to get down underneath that. Good. And keep going, one more. And also notice the angles that his hips are having to hit to get over that. You can go, on the next one, we're actually just going to come, just a quick little notch down here. We're going to come back the opposite way. And so you're going to go over on this side. Good. And then dropping under in the squat position there. Good. Over. You're also getting balance on a single leg in a way that during most gym exercises you're really not able to get. Coming over and then dropping down. So there is an advancement to this one. This looks pretty good, but we can go a little bit further with it if we add a little skip. And so what I mean by a little skip, so we're just going to skip over, 1, 2, stepping under, and again, I'm a little big for this one. 1, 2, stepping under, and put your hands on the ground, do what you got to do, because this is a really dynamic movement. We really want to make this fun and challenging, and if you knock the hurdle off, great. It means you're pushing yourself. So don't worry too much about failure, just have some fun with it and roll with it. So skip, a little bounce in your step, there you go, and get under, there you go. Nice, very nice. Oh, this looks great. Good, 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 good. Good. One more, and then let's change sides. Good. Very nice. Whichever way you want to do it. You can get in a little groove. You have some music on at the gym. You know, kind of get a little rhythm going. It's a fun way to kind of get a little cardio. This gets a lot less challenging if you do this on a weekly basis or something like that. It looks pretty difficult at first, but again, we're trying to talk about ways to include mobility where we're not actually stressing doing a separate session. This is a wonderful way to do that. It's working your hips in all different directions, even if it looks relatively simple. So the next one within this exercise set is going to be a very simple crawl. So let's move the hurdle to the side right here. And so what does a crawl look like? We'll talk about a bear crawl to start. So what are some basic elements of what a crawl should look like? We can have your both hands on the ground, shoulders over the hands, knees underneath the hips, just raising the hips slightly off the ground. Again, making sure that we're not collapsing, we're pushing the ground away with our hands, and we are contracting through the core so we feel that our back is not swaying out into this kind of sway back position, but nice and solid. You'll find it when it feels strong. Stepping forward, cross body coordination. So this is just gait-based walking with a crawl. And so we can do this for a minute. This is wonderful cardio. This is great prehab for your shoulders. This is great core. And let's have you go, Rohan. So let's start even before lifting your knees off. Knees a little bit more under the hips. There you go. And pushing, yeah, exactly, staying active. And keep getting the core ready even before you go. Tuck under a little bit more. There you go. And then get up off the ground a little bit. There you go. Now start to take some steps. Very nice. So I'd recommend for most folks doing this a little more slow and controlled to start, like Rohan is showing, because this is going to give you a lot of feedback on some of your posture. If you find that this area of your spine starts to sink down towards the ground, we don't really want to see that very much. We can also go backwards here, exactly. And this is also going to engage some rotator cuff muscles. The ability to push into the floor is going to engage some of these serratus muscles, these kind of boxer's muscles on the side of the rib cage that a lot of other exercises really don't hit. So this is a wonderful demonstration of this kind of intro to bear crawling. Awesome, Rohan. That looks great. The next one we can throw in right after is going to be a simple isometric. It's just going to be a leg raise. So why don't you face this side right here, and all you're going to do is just lift up one leg to almost parallel. Doesn't need to be parallel. And what I want you to focus on is this pelvic position, tucking under. Yeah. Reaching up through the crown of the head, tuck your chin a little bit. That looks good. Lift up a little higher. And if you hold this for, again, maybe 30 seconds each side is a much more reasonable goal, trying to keep it as extended as possible. What you're going to find is that this quad, that reaches this section of the quad that actually acts as a hip flexor, will get really tired. And what you'll have to do is turn on the core, right here, the lower core, and on the back you'll have to turn on the glute. So this is forcing a bunch of muscles to turn on that tend to be a little bit lazy. And you'll find that 30 seconds on this is actually very, very tough for the majority of people. This is something, if you were to, ask my 3-year-old daughter to do, she could do this in a heartbeat because she's using all of her core every time she goes to move anywhere. But us as adults with movement patterns that maybe stem from the distal extremities and the limbs as opposed to using the core for everything, really try to drop your ribs down. Yeah, and turn on those abs. Very, very nice. That's going to put us in a zone where we're activating a ton of muscles through only holding an isometric. Isometrics are so safe. You can self-regulate them. You'll get tired doing them, but you're not going to get hurt. The last one of this, I would actually say, let's go on the floor. Okay. You're going to lay on your back and arms out to the side. Very nice. So from here, I'm going to have you lift one knee up to your chest and just roll it over to the side. If you can, I'm going to have you reach and grab your foot with this hand. Yeah, if you can. There we go. Maybe you need a little partner. And then hand on this knee, so it gets just the heaviness of that hand will bring you down, and look to your left. Good. And we're just going to hold this for a couple breaths. This is a huge spinal twist. This is getting obviously a lot of hip and glute. This is getting some quadricep, especially after we activated with the last isometric. And this is also an opportunity to slow down and breathe because the last 3 exercises we did will get your heart beating and you're breathing heavy, for sure. So we'll switch to the other side here. You don't have to hold this again for a full minute. 30 seconds each side is a really nice goal right here. And so we can see that some of these areas, if you're on a desk quite often, are going to end up a little bit tight. And this is a wonderful way to reduce that. We eventually want the shoulder to be down on the ground at the same time that this knee comes down to the ground. There we go. You got a little more juice in there. So we don't have to look this flexible. If you can't reach your toe, grab a little resistance band and just kind of loop it around the top side of your foot, and you can pull it up that way so you still feel connected. This is a wonderful way. 4 exercises. It takes you 12 minutes if you go 3 times through this set. And this, again, I use this sometimes for a warm-up, and I often also will use this on a day, both for myself or someone who I'm working with, to make sure you're getting adequate movement, range of motion, mobility, and strength on a day where maybe you don't have a lot of time or equipment available to you.